Hello, Apoorva. Welcome to the Quint.
Thank you, Ashwini.
Congratulations on the success of Shershaah.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
Responses are still coming in, and everybody seems to be enjoying the film a lot. So, Apoorva, the movie has seen a long, 5-year long journey of
Right.
coming to the screens, right? And it came to Dharma much later in the process when Siddharth Malhotra brought it to the production house. So,
Yes.
5-year effort is finally paying off, and people seem to be loving the film. So, how has it been, and how are you guys reacting to the
So I
response?
think it's been an incredible journey on this film, like you rightly said. It was the film was with I think Vikram Batra's family was very keen on having his family. I mean, his twin brother Vishal Batra actually was in touch with Shabir Boxwala on this particular script. I think they had a very strong belief that Siddharth suited the role of their brother Vikram Batra very, very correctly. And once you see the film, you can understand that very easily, because his entire demeanor, his whole physicality, all of that matches Vikram Batra very strongly. And I think they spoke to Siddharth about it, and then he spoke to Karan about it, and then we all began work on the script, and we roped in Vishnu Vardhan to direct the film. And the film, as you can see, has been shot on extremely different terrains. In fact, when we started shooting the film in Kargil, where you see the big action sequences, Article 370 was introduced on that same day. So obviously there was internets were cut off for some days in view of the larger political environment that was being managed. And so it was, and the terrain itself is tough. There are breathing issues because the oxygen there is, of course, it's on a high altitude. So that portion of shoot was extremely difficult, and we were also in the middle of a very difficult environment, external environment, while shooting. And so it took some time, and then the film was ready for release before the pandemic, and then the pandemic took over. So yes, it's been a long 4 or 5 year journey with this film, but I think like all good things happen slowly. I think this is a testament to that. I said we are very proud of how the film has turned out. I think the production team has done an extraordinary job, and everyone on the film, the actors, the incredible storyline, the director, the music, which has worked so well. I think it's just sometimes all good forces come together, and then the result is magic, which I think has happened for Shershaah.
Right. So, given that it is a war film, it has to be visually dense, and
Mm.
it is about a man that is larger than life. So, it somewhere inherently did deserve a theatrical release in some respect.
Right.
But it has been doing great with the OTT model as well. So,
Mm.
do you think it's possible for a film like this to go the OTT way even when we're back to the theaters?
So I'll tell you, yes, the film was intended for a theatrical release, but obviously we could not release it theatrically because Maharashtra shut the theaters, and a lot of the other states have restrictions in terms of occupancy and show times. So in that sense, and we've seen some recent films that have released. They've not, in spite of having good reviews, they've not seen the collections because people in general are afraid to step out yet. So in that sense, we were very keen to ensure that the film meets an August release because it has a very strong patriotic theme, as you've seen the film, and no better time than releasing it to coincide with August 15th or Kargil Day, which was when the trailer was released. I mean, we were very clear that this was a period in which we liked the film to release. So I think in that sense, we took this decision, of course, to go with Amazon Prime, and I think we're very, very happy with that decision because when you release a film theatrically, it goes across to 80 or 90 countries. When with Amazon Prime has made this film available on 240 countries and territories day and date. Now, that kind of breadth and width you can't achieve with a theatrical release. You just can't. So the reality is there are so many more people in the world who've seen the film, and I think the testament to that is the fact that we are rating with the 8.9 on IMDb as India's most popular Hindi film ever. And that's and our initial research shows that 50% of this has come from the overseas, which means 50% of the audience base for Shershaah has come from those 240 odd countries who have been able to see this film, where otherwise they wouldn't have been able to see this film. So I think in that sense, that itself is a testament of the strength of an OTT platform and what it can do to a good film.
The film is devoid to some degree of box office pressures and the Friday numbers and all of those, all that. So, how differently do you see the success of a film now?
So, I think you're right. I mean, you don't have to wake every morning and wait, what is the collection number? What is the collection number? So I think OTT allows you to sleep peacefully because you don't have that pressure of waiting for the box office number on a daily basis. But I think on the overall impact is the same because you are having messages coming every day. I was just mentioning some time ago that I had a message from a friend who saw it in the US last night, and he just said, "Hey, watch this movie with my family, and this is the best film I've ever seen." So it's very heartwarming that OTT is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So your content is viewable is every person who wants to see your content has the ability to see it at his convenience. So you have that advantage wherein you are reaching out to so many more people at their convenience. And that's what allows it to continuously live, be appreciated. And today we are a very wired world. While you may not have a box office number, the messages on Instagram, Twitter, and all these other social media platforms, WhatsApp, there is, and reviews and word of mouth, there's enough to let you know that there's a lot of love for the film.
This story of Kargil has been told several times in the Indian film industry. There was LOC Kargil and there was Border and so many more films. So for an entire generation that I belong to as well, which is also an avid consumer of OTT, this film will now create new images of Kargil.
Correct.
So was there a sense of that responsibility on the film when it was taken out?
No, most definitely. See, when you're making when you are basically making a biographical film, which is like a war drama based on the life story of a real national hero, you have a lot of responsibility, because you're also showcasing, you're also making a tribute for a big hero, and you have to ensure that there is precision and research in everything that you put out. So there was a lot of research done on the film, and we were very careful to ensure that we've been complimented that we've not made the film jingoistic. And I think that for us is a huge compliment because we really stuck to his life, and his life has been nothing short of inspiring. I mean, patriotism is really 1 in a million. I mean, and you can see that in the film itself, and everything is true. The way he romanced Dimple, and the way he his passion for her, his passion for the country, his passion for his colleagues who were fighting the war with him if they died or they got injured. He was a very, very passionate person and impulsive and passionate, but extremely brave, courageous, and incredibly patriotic. So I think all of these factors had to be retained carefully to ensure that the film is about this and nothing else. And I think I'm glad that we've achieved to do that, because I think the audiences have come out saluting the grit of Captain Vikram Batra, which is something that he wanted.
So I was coming to that Dharma has had recent history of war or patriotic films with Razi and Gunjan Saxena that have been free from this loud jingoistic or nationalist sentiment. And so is Shershaah, that's not blatantly shouting out with.
Right.
So was it because that all of these are biographical in their telling, or was it a conscious move to put out a certain kind of cinema and ethos?
No, I think it's all because of Karan, I think to a large extent, because I think as a creator, as a director, he's such a gifted person, that he has an eye for telling a good story, he's able to recognize people, and I think for us, it's about that. As a company, it's never about, we've also made a good news, and we've also made, other films, which are not necessarily on biographical themes, but they are equally compelling, equally worth watching, So I think a lot of the credit goes to Karan because he's able to tell when a story resonates strongly with him, and it will probably resonate as strongly with all the audiences. So I think that for us is the starting point. It's really not about anything else. But yes, if it's a biopic, you also know that there is people. Today's audience is a younger generation like yourselves and all. I really enjoy watching real life stories. So that yes, there is an added advantage. It's a great story of a crusader or of a champion or of a hero. So I think that helps a lot.
Now, when you're making a biopic, there's obviously so much of responsibility and an entire family attached to it. Yes. How has the family of Vikram Batra reacting?
Vikram Batra's family has been very, very. I mean, they have been extraordinary with us. I think the parents and also Vishal, the brother, who basically has been championing Vikram Batra's film, and they approached Raj Malhotra. They were patient, because I think he had some other commitments at that time which were being shot, and they were patient and they waited because they knew that this was a very, very magical story, and needed to be told correctly. So I think in that sense, they've been so amazing with us. They've been, they've left it to us, and that has put an added burden on us, because, like everyone says, that, we've been making films for 40 years now, but, there's only once in a lifetime that you come across a film, that really tugs your heartstrings and that really energizes your core, and this is really that story. So there was a tremendous responsibility on all of us. We had to ensure that, we kind of, he has a huge fan base across the world for what he had achieved in the Kargil War, Vikram Batra. So it was very, very important for us to ensure that we don't disappoint his family first, and all those people whose life is impacted, and all those people who worship him and look up to him for what he's done. So it was a huge responsibility, and I'm glad that we've been able to deliver it. I mean, going by the response of people around, I think we've kind of managed to make sure we've not disappointed or let down the family.
So, Apoorva, what's ahead now? What does the future for Dharma Productions look like? Also with Dharma 2.0?
So, for us, I think we're in the business of telling stories. That's our core. That's what makes us tick. So I think that's something that will continue. We are working on many more productions right now. Dharma has around 4 to 5 films which are in different stages of production. Dharmatic, our sister concern that focuses on OTT content, is also releasing a few films and shows over the next 6-8 months. So I think for us, it's business as usual. We celebrated the success. We come to work every morning with a big smile on our face, because every morning we get some new message from some person in the world saying how they enjoyed Shershaah. So I think you come to work with a smile, and you come back the next day with a smile again. So I think it's great right now, and we are focusing on what you're doing is making films.
That's a great note to end the interview on. Thank you so much for taking the time out. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.